Generally speaking, I like to have confidence in my photography, but sometimes a little bit of hit and miss is called for when we can add intentional creative movement, panning with a slow shutter speed. In that scenario, we have movement of our camera, but also the surfers in this instance, and the water too. In fact, nothing is stationary, and we get some unpredictable results. We usually have plenty of time to photograph surfers. It's not like wildlife where they're here 1 minute and gone the next. While taking the images, trying to see what we have on the LCD screen is not easy. We generally need a larger PC screen for that, but it's not a problem. As I've said, we do have time while shooting the subjects to vary the shutter speeds. A little trial and error in our photography is all part of the fun. I like a slightly side-on view where I can pan with the surfers. I don't want them coming straight at me, but even that's worth a try at some stage. But I also want good light from the last hour or so of the sun. I want the low sun to make the surfers glow because they're my main centre of interest, but they're blurred. So that glow of low light now becomes important to make them stand out. Lens choice? Well, generally anything from about 200mm upwards, but it depends how far away you are. I've used both my Canon RF 70-200 f2.8, but also my Canon RF 100-500 f7.1. Both have given me good results. Remember that with everything blurred in the image, we have a much greater scope to crop into our subjects than we normally would, because we're not going to be concerned about affecting sharpness. So if you're a bit further away from the surfers than you would like, it's not a great problem. I turned off the image stabilization of my Canon R5 so that the camera's technology wasn't in conflict with the movement. But the most vital aspect of this technique, of course, is the shutter speed. That's the vital ingredient. What I found is that 1/10 of a second to 1/30th of a second is working pretty well for me for both the 200mm lens and also the 500mm. But I'm sure there's scope either side of those speeds. Experimentation is the key. Because we're shooting images with the camera set to continuous shooting, the most tedious part of this technique is discarding the failures on the computer, of which there's going to be quite a few. Take a look at my link below on Photoshop's bridge and using labels. See the process that I use to make this job as easy as possible. Although for the images you've viewed so far, I turned off image stabilization. With the Canon R5, it's worth experimenting with the stabilization settings for panned subjects. Image stabilization setting number 2 on my 70-200 and 100-500 is applied to just the up and down movement. While creating this 5-minute video, it did occur to me that I should have tried some shots with a polarizing filter. Now, we don't often attach those to long lenses because it costs us a couple of stops of light. But with these slow shutter speeds, it really isn't an issue for us. In summary, we can use aperture priority, shutter priority, or manual. Continuous shooting at 1/10 of a second to 1/30th of a second shutter speed. Turn off the image stabilization, but try to find that evening glow to make your colors pop. Because of the blur, you can crop in really tight to create great impact and composition with the feeling of speed in your subjects, and for once we don't have to fret about sharpness. It's a bit ironic to use the Canon R5, known for its image stabilization and general stability, for such a technique as this. Thanks for watching.